Hello, Fawlty here. Today I shall be talking with moderate interest about a game called Gauntlet Slayer Edition on the PlayStation 4 and some of the more noteworthy trophies you'll encounter on your journey to the platinum. Now if you grew up in the 80s and never visited an arcade, you will surely remember Matthew Broderick playing Gallagher and this machine stuck in a corner. Yes, Gauntlet, a game I played on more than a few occasions, each time investing my 10p on the geriatric wizard and each time lasting approximately 4 minutes before dying, or worse still, being pushed off the machine mid-game by someone much bigger than me. 30 years later I get to play an updated version, no longer being bullied by local hooligans, but instead having my wife mysteriously find jobs for me to do that were never there before I turned the game on. So what is it like? Well, I've got to say initially I was extremely impressed. In fact, I'd go as far to say I was quite addicted. And it's not very often I get to say that. It's still the same top-down dungeon crawler it always has been, with the same 4 characters to choose from. The elf, Valkyrie, warrior and wizard, with a necromancer thrown into the mix if you're prepared to spend a bit more money, which I wasn't. You'll run around picking up treasure, keys, eating turkey and killing waves of enemies. Death is now a bit of a swine, and on the levels he appears it really does mean death. It's a great addition and it keeps you on your toes. The gameplay remains relatively simplistic and that's not meant as a criticism. Sometimes it's nice to just jump into an arcade game and not spend hours figuring out the controls or what the hell I'm supposed to be doing in a story I've lost interest in. You have your basic attacks, weapon and relic abilities with cooldowns you need to effectively manage, and a potion ability useful in tight spots if you have any in your inventory. Going at it solo, I selected the one-eyed, rough-looking Valkyrie and jumped straight into the campaign on the hardest setting. To say she has questionable eyesight, she turned out to be a great character for getting through everything the campaign had to throw at me. Her indestructible shield that hadn't done quite so well protecting her face allowed me to reflect every enemy attack, and once I'd equipped Extreme Prejudice and Ring of Mirrors, I felt like an indestructible killing machine. And that's when the game started to show its limitations. For a start, as soon as you've attained the abilities you need, I found no real use for collecting treasure, and once the short but enjoyable campaign was over, there wasn't a lot to keep me going. Endless mode, which is essentially the purpose of the original game, no longer holds the same level of interest it once did. Maybe this mode would have been a bit more engaging, starting with nothing and then being able to level up your character, or have ability points to invest in, or gear drops from enemies with stat bonuses. But as it stood, once I'd gotten the required trophies, there wasn't much motivation to carry on.
I think I'll hold on to this.
The game is billed as a 4-player co-op experience, but fortunately, if you're like me and shudder at the thought of having to be social with the general public, you'll be overjoyed to know that all trophies can be completed entirely solo. The Platinum on PSN profiles currently sits in the ultra rare category. This isn't so much down to its difficulty, but instead that it was free on PS Plus in December of 2015, and understandably, most people who got it couldn't be bothered to do the grinding required for the majority of the trophy list. That's not to say that this is simply a grind, and there are 2 trophies in particular that need to be taken seriously. Temple Toppler. Here you need to complete the campaign on hard. For the most part, this is quite straightforward, but the final boss can take quite some time to finally conquer. It's a really clever boss fight where you have to keep an eye on what's happening on screen at all times. The worst enemies in the game I've found are the sorcerers, which require your immediate attention and appear in the final wave. These are the guys that cause me the most headaches, as you need to interrupt their focused attack. If you don't, then more often than not it instantly kills you. This was a great encounter, requiring a great deal of focus, and it took me a couple of hours before I finally did it. We need to go deeper, gold. This is where you need to reach level 50 on Endless. I read a lot of people found this extremely tricky, but I found it relatively straightforward using the Valkyrie, who already had all the abilities I needed carried forward from the campaign. There is a checkpoint after every 18 levels, so while going for this trophy you will get one at level 19 and 37, and it took me around 2 hours to get to each checkpoint. One thing to note is that death will appear every 6 levels, so you encounter one each time before your checkpoint. You should gather as much treasure as possible in order to buy coins for extra lives at the start of each level if they are available. Levels 1 to 18 are a walk in the park. I had most difficulty with levels 19 to 36. The issue here again for me were the sorcerers, and it took me 2 attempts. First, I frustratingly died on wave 36. Waves 37 to 50 actually weren't too bad at all. Here your enemy is the darkness, and luckily sorcerers don't appear until the very end. Some people have mentioned replaying levels 1 to 18 to gain enough coins before continuing. Maybe I got lucky with the randomly generated maps, but I never felt this approach was necessary. The rest of the trophies are all linked to performing X number of kills of one enemy or another with your main character, and then, once done, switching to the remaining 3 characters to perform so many kills with them. It becomes extremely monotonous after a while, repeating the same levels over and over to the point where I was doing this half-heartedly via remote play while my daughter sat watching Waffle the Wonder Dog. The only trophy that isn't X number of this or that was when I blew up. I would have welcomed trophies for completing the game on hard with all 4 characters, so you got to understand their abilities a bit more, especially the wizard, whose mechanics work completely differently to the others, and using him took quite a bit of time to adjust to. But as you only have to do it the once, you only need to keep replaying the nest with these characters to efficiently grind out their respective trophies, as I did in this video to gain the platinum. Overall, it is an impressive facelift to a classic game. However, as dungeon crawlers have evolved over the years, I can't help but feel this was an opportunity missed. That aside, definitely a game worth playing, with a trophy list that provides a decent challenge. Thanks for watching, and I hope you liked the video. Have you achieved the platinum in Gauntlet? Let me know in the comments below.